there, welcome to today's presentation. Today it's all about cap rates. Cap rate is a calculation that we as investors use to determine what the value of a commercial property is actually worth based upon other past sales of similar size and nature. So without further ado, let's just jump right into how we actually come up with these cap rates. So the formula for a cap rate is quite simply the net operating income for the property divided by the property value itself. Now the net operating income is determined based upon the income that property generates. So all of the rents and all of the other forms of income such as parking, laundry, storage facilities, etc. All of that income related to that property makes up part of the income to determine the net operating income. Then you deduct the expenses related to that property as well. So things like your property taxes, your property insurance, any utilities, maintenance, management fees, etc. All of these expenses are deducted from the income. The only expense you do not deduct is your debt service, your mortgage payment. So let's take a look at an example. Let's say, for example, our property generates $100,000 in income. That's gross income from all sources. We then deduct from that income all of the related expenses, but not the debt service. So $50,000 in this example. That leaves us with a net operating income of $50,000. Now, if the sale price for this particular property was $950,000, all we need to do is to take the net operating income divided by that property value to come up with our cap rate. So $50,000 divided by $950,000 comes up with a 0.526 valuation. Well, it doesn't look very pretty in that form, so what we like to do is put it into a percentage format, and in order to do that, we multiply that by 100, and that means it's now 5.26%. So based upon that income the property generated and the sale price for that property, that has generated a cap value of 5.26%. So let's take a look at a new property that's just come on the market. What is the property value for that property? How are we going to determine the property value? Well, we just massage this calculation a little bit. As long as we have two of the three parts of this equation, we're able to figure out the third part. So we take the property value and, we take the net operating income value and we divide that by the cap rate that we just determined in an earlier slide. So what does that mean? If our net operating income is $50,000, we know that our cap rate is 5.26%. We divide that into the $50,000 and we come up with a valuation of $950,570. Now, is the NOI accurate? That is the big question. And I say no, it's not. Well, why is that? Well, what happens if we increase the income or we decrease the expenses or we do both at the same time? What happens with our net operating income? It goes up. Therefore, we end up with a higher net operating income, which equals a higher valuation for the property. The challenge is this is not an accurate valuation any longer. So here's the challenge. If our NOI is questionable, so for example, if we change the NOI from $50,000 up to $60,000 because we have massaged the rents a little bit, maybe we're using projected rents, or maybe we aren't allowing for vacancies, or maybe we haven't included all of the expenses related to the property, or we're not using real numbers. Whatever it works out to, we get the value for the net operating income up to $60,000. We're still using that same cap rate of 5.26% though. All of a sudden the new valuation goes up to $1.140 million. That's $190,000 more than what the property's really worth. So if we use the real, now you fast forward, you bought the property and you discover that, well, hang on, my net operating income isn't $60,000, it's really only $50,000. So what is the cap rate now based upon this new purchase price that I just paid for the property? It's going to work out to be 4.38%. So now future investors and realtors, when they're pricing other properties, are going to look at your property and say, well, hang on, okay, your net operating income is $50,000, the purchase price of 1.4, that's what you paid for it, so the cap rate is 4.38%. So now what they're going to do is they're going to use this false cap rate to determine the future value of other properties. So the lessons learned here are that caps are inaccurate only if you're using accurate information. That old saying, garbage in, garbage out. The NOI is easily skewed, therefore you get inaccurate results. Use the cap rate as a guideline only to help determine the value of the property. Never use the cap rate to say, well, it's got a cap rate of this amount, therefore I'm going to buy it. Don't trust the cap values. You want to trust but verify. Then you're going to verify the numbers again and again. And you always buy the property based upon the numbers, never the cap rate. So who knew cap rates could be so complicated, right? It's a very simple calculation, yet it can generate some pretty complicated results and very inaccurate results. And that's why I feel it's extremely important for you to understand how cap rate truly works. So if you found this information to be of value to you, then please hit the like button right below us here. And also subscribe so that I'm able to share more information just like the cap rates in future videos. Take care, and we'll see you at the top.